All right, here we are with supermodel, super mom, super activist, and I guess just a super person, Carre Otis. Carre, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well considering. I
All things
feel,
considered.
yeah, I feel super fortunate for my particular little abode on a mountain without a lot of people around me.
Yes, the self-isolation, I think, is really working at this time.
Yeah, how are you doing?
I'm terrified, right in Manhattan, and every day the government fails us more, and respirators are not being sent, and what else? There's a ship for 1,000 people, and it has, I think, 13 on it as of now. But anyway, it's the end of the
Yeah.
world, so we have to get to you real fast.
Yeah,
You,
okay.
you have had a road that I can't even imagine. For you to be sitting there looking so beautiful, put together, everything is fine with a big smile. I don't know how you did it. You were one of the first people, way before the Me Too movement, to come out and just publicly state things about powerful people who were always insulated and protected and who had the ability to do anything they want without repercussions. How did you have the courage to do that, and what did you do?
You know, I think that it's from all the work that I've done, the personal growth that I've done, and I couldn't not address what has been so normalized for humanity for so long. The perspective came when I had daughters. I'm a mother to two girls, and over my dead body, I have them normalizing behavior that shouldn't be normal. It should be called out. So I felt a deep obligation to speak about my life and what my experience has been as a model, as a mom, as a woman at this time. And also as a Western woman, we have a responsibility. There's other countries where women cannot speak out. They'll be stoned to death. They'll be beheaded. They'll be ostracized, or, acid thrown in their faces. So I just, I feel it's really, really important. And I'm so glad to see it being done on such a big scale.
Well, it's, like you said, the repercussions are insane and barbaric what they do. Just tell me real quickly about Beauty Disrupted, a Memoir. What'd you throw in there?
Yeah.
Oh,
So that what?
yeah, yeah. That wasn't an easy read.
Yeah, that, was fascinating writing it. I just was so tired of women's stories not being told, and also interpreted by all the media, and just by how many people felt like they knew me or thought that they knew what I had been through, and it was somebody else's version. I wanted my daughters to be able to read and hear what my story was, not have it be something that was spun by anybody else, because ultimately my story is an empowering one because of challenges, because of my spiritual path. It took a lot of courage to write that book. And also, I can't say I was ostracized because I was already out and like full-time mom, but definitely it didn't get the applause that it might have now. It's an unpopular subject, rape and domestic violence, and a lot of people don't want to talk about these things. However, it is so pervasive in our communities and in our cultures. What was harder than writing the book, though, was doing the audiobook, because I was in a small little, recording studio with 3 men I didn't know. And it was one thing to be in an internal process of writing my book, and a whole other thing of actually like verbalizing every aspect of the book.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a ringer, man. That was really tough.
I never saw that coming. I didn't think about that, that the audio
Yeah.
interpretation surrounded by the 3 men, you're not in your home, in your little nook writing. Wow. Are we not allowed to name any names because they're already out there? Like the guy from Elite? I
Oh
mean,
yeah, you can name names. I'm going to go ahead and just refrain, but you can name names, and they are already out there. And I am not the only person that makes these allegations.
Yeah.
or had these experiences. It's actually pretty rampant. And
Yeah.
that,
Gerald
and
Marie, he seems to
yeah,
just think every girl that was there is there for his pleasing.
yeah,
No consequences. Still to this day. Just
still to this
relocated
day.
to a different place, like the Catholic
You
Church.
know, yeah, exactly. And it's unbelievable how these people still continue to work with our minors, yeah, it's unbelievable. It's so infuriating. So it's really great when justice is done and the Harveys are put away. And
And
yeah,
he's raped every day for the rest of his existence. I don't want him to die soon. I want it to be a long, long stay. So can we say that something happened when you were over in Paris living with someone and
yep,
you came home drunk and you were 17, I believe, and just raped you and that was it?
yep.
No consequences, no anything.
No, none whatsoever. And I have to say so that was an extreme of that behavior, but there was so much, sexual inappropriateness in that in that workplace across the board, and being sexualized and objectified and spoken about as if you weren't there in the room, inappropriate touching, inappropriate comments. I mean, it was part of the job. And there were other, and this whole idea of being complicit if you're not speaking up. There were other women who saw this behavior going on. There were agents. So it wasn't just, between me and one person. It was like a whole fucking community of people that condoned this behavior.
It's a whole conspiracy. And also, if you don't go along with it, or let's say you were a whistleblower back then, what happens? You don't get the bookings, you don't get the castings, that you don't get the cover, you get nothing. And they just control them.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Absolutely. And yeah, it's like an impossible situation. And also, if you take into account, mostly young people, young men and young women working in that industry that don't have the skill set to say no to, they don't have any of those tools to keep themselves safe, and certainly not when they're going to lose a job. And for some of us, we didn't have money, we didn't have parents traveling with us, like that was our only lifeline, and it certainly was for me.
Right. And also, in this case, it was your housing. You were living there with this
Yeah,
person. So then you
yeah.
lose your housing. You should be going to the prom and thinking about that. And instead, how,
Amen.
yeah, how do you process something like that? I mean, I read all this stuff, but I can't imagine all of a sudden post assault, and I think assault is bad, 'cause it sounds like you punch somebody, but after a rape, you're just lying there helpless, hopeless, terrified, and this monster is sleeping in the next room, sleeping off his hangover.
Yeah, yeah. And how do you process that unless you have the skills and the means to get help? Which, who was getting help in the 80s and 90s? Like, it's like, were there therapists? There were therapists, but none that I had access to. And yeah, that avenue wasn't. So, how do you process it? You become a drug addict? I mean, I went through every aspect of dealing with emotional trauma and physical trauma, and trying to work it out until I actually dealt with my trauma.
That's amazing. And you speak about the drugs. He was also supposedly, which I believe 100%, Gerald Marie, once again, he got you into coke because you found his stash and then he would just do drugs with you. And that obviously was a comfort because any sort of escape from that trauma, and then I believe you got paid in coke, or they would give you coke on the sets, or it was just everywhere. Not
It was
paid. Well,
everywhere. There was coke on the sets. I mean, it was just like, it was everywhere. Yeah. It was like the Wild West.
okay. Wow. And that's pretty addicting and damaging. Uh, I don't know how you did it. You also did not have the easiest childhood. You took off at like 11. You should be learning how to tie your shoes and stuff like that. And you went to and lived at like halfway houses and stuff. Can you talk about that? Because that's pretty heavy stuff.
Yeah, it was a little older than that. I believe it was 12, 13, which was my first runaway attempt. And I went into a halfway house called Nine Grove Lane. And You know, the amazing thing is today my family has done so much work, and we have an amazing connection, an amazing bond, and are incredibly close. And like many Western families, during that era, and I'm sure now, you know, there were a lot of secrets and a lot of, I think, generational issues that had not yet been taken care of. And my parents had not done a lot of work at that point. So it was just a very typical dysfunctional, like highly dysfunctional family. And appearing like we looked just fine on the outside. And I've always been,
On Sunday,
right?
and everybody's
I've
perfect.
always been, as you can tell, super vocal. So guess what? At that age, I was like, this is fucked up. Like, this is, we're not well. It's not okay. You may say it's okay, but this is not normal. And so I was the one that raged. I was definitely the one that like left, that got into trouble, that for me, it felt very lonely to be at home. And so, yeah, it wasn't until I actually had that connection with Tibetan Buddhism at 17 that I felt connection, and I felt like I started to understand that I actually had a purpose on this planet. But up until that point, it was really lonely, intense experience, an intense childhood.
Also, there was something, I think 11 years old, is I was thinking there was another problem that happened, an assault.
Yep,
You were raped at 11.
yep,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
nice. That's nice. And no consequences there, just nothing.
No consequences there, and not even like so many kids that deal with sexual abuse. No, I had never been told I could say no. In that situation, I had said no, I had resisted, obviously. There was a tremendous amount of shame. And, you know, the irony is how victims feel, or why victims feel the shame when there's nothing in it that we did. But of course, there's so many thoughts of, we create something about ourselves, like there's something wrong that we did. And I think we're taught, like we're really conditioned that way, and women are certainly really conditioned that way. So yeah, I had a lot of odds stacked against me. Once I got into modeling, there was already so much that had happened, so it was pretty much a shit show for many years, and I've been very public about that.
Right. You were kind of conditioned from what you experienced and the reaction
Yeah,
from it to walk right
yeah,
into the main stage,
yeah,
the global stage.
yeah.
This is where we're experts at rape and getting away with it, and abuse and manipulation. Um, Fortunately, things have changed. Me Too happened, but there's something, you're on the leadership council of the Model Alliance, which is
Yep.
pretty heavy. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I am with a group of other amazing individuals, models, and others and beyond. We are on the Leadership Council of the Model Alliance, and we bring sort of our expertise in these different areas where we've all had experience, and we're trying to make change within that industry. And many of us know that industry, for the most part, has been very unregulated. Um, and it's a very vulnerable industry of workers. We're working with minors, you know, oftentimes, or most times not yet able to advocate for themselves. And before the Model Alliance and before Sarah Ziff created the Model Alliance, there was no place to go to report sexual harassment. An agent wasn't going to listen to it because they're going to lose their job. So Sarah's done an incredible job to protect workers' rights within an industry that's extremely vulnerable, and things have not been transparent in that industry, and it's proven very challenging to create any kind of real change as of yet. We did have a victory with Victoria's Secret, and it wasn't just, you know, Model Alliance putting pressure on, but certainly shining a light on another very misogynistic, you know, corporation workplace. And it wasn't just the models that were being treated poorly within that, you know, within Victoria's Secret, but actual workers that were working on the inside as well. So there's a changing of the guard.
The
What?
CEO, Les Werner, he was great friends with Epstein. So just right there, guilt by association. That's your buddy, and you finance him and give him hundreds of millions of dollars and hang out with him. I mean, what do you think you're doing? It's just, once again, the funneling of the girls.
Yeah. Yeah, there is definitely a place where a lot of people exist where there's no consequence, and it's bullshit. It's got to change.
Yeah. And when you have a party and you've got the politicians there and all the people in a certain industry and the police there, or the highest people in the police, or in some cases, some of the highest people in politics today, how is there accountability when the people who would hold someone accountable are participating? Or if it's happening on an island, some faraway place.
Yep.
Get your passport and say you can't go home, do this.
Yep.
Royal family member.
Yeah, I think that trafficking has been going on, human trafficking has been going on for a long time, and I think that we are seeing how big of a deal it is and how many industries, you know, that it affects.
And right here in America, they always think it's something overseas where it's like, oh,
Totally.
no, it's not even,
Totally.
it's right here at the Super Bowl, you know, that kind of stuff. Crazy.
Yeah.
So what's the
Terrifying.
respect program?
What? Yes, respect program. So Sarah and a group crafted the respect program, and the respect program is basically, it would have been something if Victoria's Secret had signed up when, you know, when Model Alliance first asked them to. Every single issue that's happened with Victoria's Secrets internally would have been addressed. And basically it is protecting workers' rights. And, you know, we can't depend on an industry-led change. It has to be, you know, it has to be another party. And yeah, so that's a respect program. We do not have signatures right now. We do not, we desperately need some of these big corporations and big, they need to be industry leaders. And why this industry is exempt from what other industries are held accountable for, you know, that's
no, it's completely insane. I mean, some companies, the biggest companies in the world in America, pay no taxes. Victoria's Secret gets to do whatever they want with the girls. You know, the animals are running the zoo, and it has to come from the outside, because asking them to self-police or to regulate some of the thing, they just do a change of the guard, and a new pervert, molester, rapist comes in. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's insanity. Definition of insanity for sure.
Now, there's a couple people, Gérald Marie, John Casablanca, and Jean-Luc Brunel.
Yeah.
That's the winning team. Have you heard anything about those three?
I've heard about, yes. I've heard about all of them. I've met John. I met John when he was alive. So I was around the time of Stephanie Seymour, and, you know, she was very young and he was much older.
Right?
What?
He was 15 living at...
I believe so. I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, and Jean-Luc I never met, but certainly, I mean, within my industry and within talking to all the other girls, we all knew all the stories and how these guys behaved. I think, I know for a fact there was a BBC documentary. Did you? Yeah. Yes. Basically following those guys, and Gérald claiming that it was a stadium of pussies. It was the elite model contest or whatever it was. I mean, it's just, they're notorious for this behavior. Yeah.
And then they actually got the whole BBC thing to come down and disappear.
Yeah.
Their influence.
Crazy, huh?
Like, this isn't, you don't like this. You can't tell the truth. It's not politically acceptable. Get rid of it. I researched it for you when you had talked about it, and it just explained everything was settled, and, you know, things were misrepresented and all that legal nonsense. They squashed it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Making stuff go away, but you can't make the stories go away. There's too many of us.
That's
when you
the
fuck
thing.
over that many of us, it's like, sorry. And there's so many more women that are coming out. When I wrote my book, it was amazing how many emails I got from how many women who'd had the same experience with Gérald.
Right.
I mean, you know, no surprise there.
Yeah, it's not
I never thought I was the only one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Weinstein, they're like, oh no, it only happened with one person. All of a sudden they've got 72 or something. It's like, yeah, all these random people got together and said, let's ruin this guy's life.
Right. Right.
Yeah. You said about Tibetan Buddhism at 17, but then you lost it for a little while. When did you come back, or how did they pull you back in?
it was always there, and it was really my lifeline. I didn't know what a lifeline it was. I connected deeply with it initially, and then I had a life to go and do. A lot of exploration. I had to basically go to the dark side of the moon and back. And, you know, I am the sum of all of my experiences, and ultimately have survived the impossible, and feel incredibly connected to all beings because of my experiences and because of my suffering. So it was around the time I went to Nepal, like I would check in with my teachers maybe once every 2 years, and then would go and do my thing and then come back and check in. They knew I was alive, but I wasn't ready to practice or to like come back in. So it was really after I had my heart surgery because of anorexia, eating disorders, and I went to Nepal on a humanitarian mission and just deeply reconnected. There's a lot of Tibetans in Nepal, and a ton of Tibetan monasteries, and just felt like things woke back up in me. There was just like, oh, this is here. This is really an important part of my life. So I reconnected at 30 and started practicing daily again. And it's really been my staple since.
And what are the things that are keeping you grounded? Are there mantras or breathing, meditation? What are you doing that, because the world is still crazy.
The world is still crazy. So I get up every morning and I practice. And my practice, I've gone through many different practices. You go through and you accomplish certain practices that your teacher gives you. And so that's also evolving. And now that's my grounding, is waking up and going into my prayer room and having that hour and taking time. And my practice is also in parenting and just being present right now with what is happening on this planet. It would be really easy to go down a rabbit hole. And I'm very grateful for my practice that I start every day, because it gives me sort of a baseline of, wow, okay, this is getting really intense out here. I'm just going to reconnect. And so it's like a muscle that you exercise. And for me, you know, I'm able to call on those qualities. And it doesn't mean I don't freak out and lose my shit at all. But I have some tools to, like, you know, I have some awakening to remember, to recall where I am, and right in this moment, I am okay. And this too shall pass. I mean, as bad as it is. And there's also gifts within this. And I know you and I connected through this moment. You know, there's all these new connections being made. So there are gifts within this. And the planet is asking us to stop right now. The universe is saying, you guys didn't listen, right? Yeah. The forests are on fire, and the floods are coming. You didn't listen, so here we go. We're giving you something else so that you all stop and listen.
Mother Nature's reboot.
Yeah.
And she's powerful. I like what you said about the good things coming of it, because I think people are finally going a little bit inward, not by choice, but they're alone either by themselves or with their partner or with their family. And it's like, there are no distractions because there are no things to do. So you have to say, I'm me, and this is this person. How can we get along or make this a better place?
And what a huge practice to be with yourself, right?
Terrifying. Terrifying.
It brings a lot of discomfort to a lot of people, you know, because we're in a culture right now that's so external, from devices to, a lot of distraction, So,
well, you have a digital life you maintain, and everyone kind of almost becomes part of that. And now it's, what are you going to do? Well, take a picture of yourself doing yoga. That's it. So you're really forced to be yourself.
Totally.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sitting on my bed with the dog eating my emergency food, and we're having snacks all night watching Netflix. I'm like, all right, let's get this together. But
are you going out to shop, or do you get deliveries?
There are deliveries, but it's becoming less and less possible. There's a thing called Fresh Direct, and they deliver any food you want, bread, you name it. It's a massive thing. But it's now becoming where even 3 weeks out, they don't have openings. So it's the next 3 weeks in New York, they say, are going to be the worst of all of
Oh,
it. And I mean, even on that,
wow.
like half the stores, I'd say, a third of the stores are empty. I mean, like vacant, no store. And then the other ones are starting to go, or they're boarded up. And that's on Nice Street. So New York is it's going to be bad because forget the rich people. Rich people own stuff. People don't pay
Yeah.
their rent, then they don't have the money for the rich people. They don't shop, they don't travel, they don't go out, and they have no job. Then there's no insurance. There's a rabbit hole that can lead to depression and really bad
Oh, yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
We crossed 100,000 in New York State today, and the government's doing nothing. $1,200 of your own money against future taxes. 1,200. A family of four, $4,800 with the two kids. Forget it. That's a whole nother thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So another one, big pharma is one of the nice things that controls America, and they don't want to cure you because there's no money in a cure. Really, it's a short-term payday treatment. They want people sick and staying on these pills. Tell us about your medicines from let's see, plant-based medicines versus Western medicine.
Yeah. So I've been working with different psychedelics for over 10 years, but intentionally in a intentional setting, and really interested in the indigenous wisdom traditions globally from Tibet. And not all of them work with plant medicines. I mean, Dharma, Buddhism is also my medicine. But I've traveled to Africa twice and been initiated.
African Witty, right? Is that it?
Bwiti, yes, the Bwiti. Yes, so I've been initiated several times within that lineage. I have teachers from Tibet, also South America, North America. And it is my sense that at this time, we've all gone so off the rails and so far away from this planet and all that this planet and the indigenous people have to offer and all of these traditions, that I really believe that these sacred medicines, and they are medicines, have, and there's more people you hear, Michael Pollan's book, it's gone mainstream in a lot of areas that people are going back to, and it's not psychedelic drugs, they're plants from this earth. It's psilocybin mushroom. And there's different states that are starting to decriminalize. There's an amazing movement, Elizabeth Bast and Chor Boogie, decriminalize nature. I mean, that's essentially, so I think for a long time, big pharma, a lot of people have been making these substances illegal. They have the ability to heal spiritually, physically, on so many different levels. Certainly if you have cancer or there's lots of different, there's times where medication comes in, and there was a time in my life it saved my ass because I didn't have access to other stuff, and it gave me the backbone to be able to do the psychiatric work I needed to do to heal trauma. Today, I work with different medicines and would much prefer to work with different plant medicines to heal on different levels. Yeah.
Well, science has proven it. It's not just you saying, hey, it worked for me, I'm being honest, but legitimate major studies have been done at universities where they analyze the brain and they say, this has reset the mind. And
Yep.
it's crazy, not crazy, but taken as crazy as like LSD or these other psychotropic drugs or ketamine things. And they're like, wait, why is this working with PTSD so well? And of course, they want you on all their pills, but then you can go get ketamine treatments and the success rate is like 70%. And that's the people saying it on message boards, and they're not doing it because they're getting a payday or a free vacation from one of the big pharmacies. It's because it helped. And
plant medicine has a huge part to do with my personal growth and healing from PTSD, quite frankly. It was a huge game changer for me.
Was there specific stuff, or if you don't want to say, but was there specific?
I would say specifically Iboga. Iboga and my Bwiti initiations has been hands down the most profound, revolutionary shift within my life and how I view life, and also the life that I've had, the challenges that I've had. So it's not for everyone, and there's certain sort of requirements health-wise that you would need to really adhere to. And And my belief is these plant medicines they're not for parties. They're for personal growth and personal ascension, and done in the right set and setting with the right facilitators, because there's a lot of assholes that are getting plant medicine off the internet. They haven't been well trained. They haven't been trained at all. And they're facilitating combo. They've done like a 6-week combo, training where, in the Amazon, like you do this, you study these things for years and
generational.
Years.
This is
Yeah.
forever. This is not a course on the internet.
One of the amazing ayahuasqueros that I work with, I was talking with him about combo, and there's people doing a ton of combo in the United States, I'm sure all over, as a cleanse, and it's very intense. But my mentor was saying to me, it's actually something, in South America that they break out when somebody's really, really sick. Like, it's beyond the ayahuasca, like when someone's really sick, but they don't do the combo unless somebody's really sick. So I think it's really important to honor our elders and honor these traditions and be well trained. If there's something that speaks to you, go to that land and learn it from, because these traditions, they have to be passed on appropriately.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not a do-it-yourself at home thing.
No, it can really fuck you up.
Yeah, exactly.
It's for real. Yeah, it's big. All of them are really, really powerful, big medicines, and you need a guide.
Mind altering and mind resetting.
Yes.
All the synapses and different things that take place. It's a healing process that makes your mind see things and appreciate things differently. And like you said,
and also so typical of the Westerner, just like, let's go in and pillage and take. Our impact on South America and on the communities that give us ayahuasca, our impact on the Gabonese and the Briti, when we're just going and taking this medicine or ordering this medicine, we're really compromising communities. We have a footprint, and it's energetic, it's physical. So I get so concerned for these communities, for sure, as things come in and are like super popular, and we've got people writing about it and talking about it. People don't really talk about the impact that we're having on the planet, if you want to just say it, like on the planet.
Oh, absolutely. From bulldozing the Amazon to MTV influence throughout the world. We've destroyed it. It's time for a global reboot.
And what's really amazing? I was going to say 2 things. Peter Beard, did you know? Have you seen?
I'm looking for him, but he's not in my neighborhood. But yeah, that poor guy.
God, I've had incredible experiences with him. But he wrote an incredible, I think it was his daughter that posted it today, but an incredible reminder for all of us humans. Nature will prevail. I mean, this planet is so badass and sophisticated. We might have to go first, right, but we're not going to take her down. Right. I mean, she'll shake us off. So if that's what has to happen because humans can't get their shit together, then so be it.
You're so right. The world isn't going anywhere. The Earth's not going anywhere. We are. It will just say goodbye. You've been like a rodent or something, and we'll start again. And we'll do a whole primordial soup and start.
And as before, right? Yeah.
We failed at it. Are there any happy moments from modeling? Because I know.
Yes.
Okay.
There are.
There
were also some amazing situations with amazing groups of people that got together. Carrie Warren, Sam Knight, Mary Greenwald, like there were amazing groups. Herb Ritz, Matthew Ralston, Dewey Nicks, like hilarious, where you travel to some crazy place and do crazy things and make incredible art. And so there was some really sweet moments.
Nicely, you were one of the highest paid in the world. It's not a bad paycheck.
Right. Yeah. And I think, to remember that I was incredibly fortunate when I hit that moment, but in actuality, it took a long time to get there, and a lot of, my first go at modeling, it was not a successful run. I was broke, and so.
Really?
Yeah, when I was living in Paris, when I was living in Paris during that time, I had no money. I didn't have enough money for like warm shoes or a winter coat. It was a drag. And Paris is not a fun place as young, poor American that does not speak English.
French.
Not a good place.
Okay. Wow, I did not know that. When did it change? Did someone find you and go, wait, we got something here?
You know, it was after the whole Gérald Marie thing, and I actually got bit in the face by a dog and couldn't in Paris and couldn't work. It was before the days of Photoshop, so it was like, what are you gonna do? You know, and I wasn't a big model at that time, so it was like, oh no, you're a mess, go home.
Yeah.
So I actually went to live on a farm in Northern California, where it was basically a farm of midwives. They birth babies, and a really amazing place. And I got my feet back under me. I know, the many lives of me. I got my feet back under me and started working, found an agent in San Francisco, Mary Christine Kolak of Look Agency, found her in San Francisco and started to commute from my farm to San Francisco and worked with Macy's, like catalog. And it was safe, it paid well. And I was kind of like a big deal to San Francisco because I'd already been to Paris and had like tear sheets and an L cover. And so kind of just got it together and got stabilized again. And then I remember somehow I connected with Herb Ritz, and I still have this Polaroid. Herb was so great, but he was shooting a cover and had heard about me, and he said, I need to have a Polaroid of your tits. This was the industry then. Really? Gay. He was like gay. So it was, and of course I took a picture of my boobs and I like mailed it, like snail mail, and I got the job.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was
a real big sacrifice, right? If you're used to, Riviera and topless beaches, send a Polaroid. I have to do that. Become a gay photographer. Yeah. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
And so hilarious. You got booked for that, and he probably.
We got booked for that, and it was like once you're in with Herb, you're golden, Yeah.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, so it just kind of skyrocketed from there.
Yep, I remember you on the motorcycle, all badass and whatever. Yeah. Did you ever see in your wildest dreams you where you are now from back then, with the glasses and not worried about smoky eye and whatever, just being you?
Never. No, I didn't. I couldn't fathom it then. I couldn't. Sorry, I have a daughter walking in. I'm live on Facebook. Go talk to Dad.
Come tell me the truth about your mom. I mean the truth. Get back in here. She's been lying for 40 minutes.
Oh my gosh. What were you asking me? Sorry.
About you being just happy, comfortable, and not worrying about, like you let the hair go gray, and
I know.
You're at peace with the world. You're still ridiculously amazing, but it's
I am so fortunate. It's like I have an incredible marriage, 2 amazing kids. I have everything that I need, and who knew that I needed so little and such simplicity, but I couldn't fathom it, when I was struggling. There were moments I wasn't sure I would ever get out of the situations that I was in. And so I feel incredibly blessed.
True life and death, scary situations. No exaggeration, Yeah. That's great. Real quickly, how did you meet this incredible guy? Because that I couldn't find out.
Hold on, let me close this door.
Uh-oh.
I know, so sorry. So this incredible guy I met at Whole Foods in Mill Valley, and it was after a period of celibacy. I remember that
for years. I forgot to. That was next. That was on the other subject for the next interviews. Okay, but go ahead.
Yeah. So I was on the other side of celibacy and really wasn't looking for a relationship at all. Of course, that's when it happens. You do all the work that you need to do. There's nothing that you need externally. You know who you are. You've given yourself everything you need.
You're buying organic fruit.
And I met him at Whole Foods, and he asked for my number, and I said, I don't give out my number. I didn't know if he like knew me or like knew who I was. I'm like, I'm not going to give you my number, but I said, I'll take yours,
Right.
which was like a first in a long time. And I got in my car and I called him. And
In the
he
parking
called,
lot, called him.
yes, and I called him and left a message, and then he called me back, and I didn't call him for 2 weeks. I was like, what am I doing? This is so stupid.
I don't need
But
this.
I
This is ridiculous.
just had a feeling. I just had a feeling.
Good for
And
you.
I'm glad I had a feeling, because here I am.
I think everyone's glad. He's glad. The kids are glad. The animals. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
It seems like a happy ending that no one could be more deserving of than you.
Yeah, it's true. It's the truth. Yeah.
So, what is your mission now? You've got the Model Alliance. What would be your dream now? Because you seem to have somewhat of a dream coming true as it is with the family and the health. And
I do. I am looking forward to writing my second book on my life now, also my work with these indigenous plants and these traditions. So more on my spiritual life. I'm also launching an amazing program, the Bear Mama Project. You can find us on Instagram. We're creating an online program, and it's not about abstinence from alcohol, but it's definitely in creation to address the rise in drinking in mamas. And especially, who knew, like with coronavirus, all the memes, mommy wine time, we've so normalized. And I still enjoy a glass of wine on occasion, but I do not drink like I used to. And it's because I went through a training. I actually read Annie Grace's book. It's called This Naked Mind. And it's a really fabulous approach to exploring our beliefs and stories around alcohol, and really questioning, like, are they our stories or were they somebody else's stories? And I just adopted this program, which can be said for just about anything in our life. And when we go and explore what these stories are and whose are they, and have the ability to rewrite the story that we want, so we can have the relationship we want or not with alcohol or with any substance or with eating or with men. I mean, it can really be applied to anything. But the book inspired me so much that I went and did a coach certification with This Naked Mind and Annie. So I'm a certified This Naked Mind coach. And out of it, with a friend of mine, Dr. Sarah Spinner, a clinical psychiatrist in San Francisco Bay Area, we're creating an online program just to support women.
Okay, Bear Mama, B-A-R-E.
Bear Mama, B-A-R-E, Mama Project. Yeah.
That's crucially important because, like you said, there's a tide rising. I've even seen it on the internet of just mommy's drunk in the closet, mommy this. And when you're
and it's understandable. And our goal isn't to have you commit to being alcohol free at all, but to really address some of the stresses that mothers are going through. And it's also not just for moms. It's not just for women that identify as women. But it's definitely to address the rise of stress and what are some of the other coping strategies that we have. And I definitely bring a lot of mindfulness in the practices that I've done and worked on over the years into addressing some of the challenges for humanity right now.
Well, I'm going to be using some of those Bear Mama techniques, and I'm
Yay.
not schooling anyone, so I can only imagine what that's like. Oh,
there you go.
24/7 with your loved ones. That's a recipe for trouble. For trouble.
Yeah.
Last thing, I think I know already. How would you like to be thought of and remembered if someone said, "Oh, I know Carre Otis. I met Carre Otis," and you, what would you want them to think?
Well, to be totally honest, I think that the Carre that a lot of people knew when I was working as a model was very young and self-absorbed. Like most young people in their 20s, like, yeah, I'm invincible. Mm-hmm. And absolutely now, as a caring, wise, loving, compassionate, trustworthy human being that gives a shit. And I know, and curses a lot.
Yeah. You got to let it out somehow. Everyone's got their thing. So I will tell everyone to check out the different sites and the different
Yeah.
media and the Bear Mama and the book, the new book coming out. I can't tell you what a pleasure, how refreshing, how great to meet someone like you. Obviously, knew who you were forever since I guess after puberty. You say, "Oh, wow, that's the most amazing thing I've ever seen." But to talk to you now and what a person you are with such substance, it's incredible. And I see the mom and the husband thing in the video, so good for you. You deserve it. And
Thank
there's
you.
more. We have more to cover. Remember the email? There's like
Oh
90
yeah, totally, totally.
more Carrie facets we have to do. So
Yeah.
if you just say to make my day, week, and probably year, say your name and that you're watching Chance TV.
Yes, this is Carre Otis, and you are watching Chance TV.
And you fell off the chair. Okay, I'm going to real quickly, Miss Otis.
Yep.
More beautiful than I thought. I actually can see you now. Wow. Okay. So I don't want to hang up first, but I actually have to, given the software. But thank you for everything. And
Bye, love. I'm gonna go make dinner.
yeah, go make it. Go do that mom stuff and make everybody happy. All right.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you.